An 82-year-old widow named Eleanor entered a nursing home in Sacramento, California for what her family believed would be a short stay. She had fallen in her kitchen, fractured her hip, and needed rehabilitation before returning to the home she had lived in for 41 years. Her daughter visited every Sunday. The staff seemed kind. The facility looked clean. 3 months later, Eleanor's daughter arrived on a Tuesday, unannounced for the first time, and found her mother sitting alone in a soiled gown, confused and unable to tell her what day it was. Eleanor had lost 11 pounds. She had 2 pressure sores on her back that nobody had mentioned, and when her daughter asked the charge nurse what had happened, the nurse said she was short-staffed and doing the best she could. Eleanor never went home. She passed away 4 months later. Her daughter told anyone who would listen, "I did not know what questions to ask. I did not know what to look for. I trusted them completely. And I will spend the rest of my life wishing I had known what I am about to tell you." If you have a parent, a spouse, or a loved one who is in a nursing home, or who may need one someday, what you are about to hear could protect their safety, their dignity, and everything your family has worked for. Today, we are going through 5 nursing home traps that families discover too late. For each one, you will learn exactly how it works, exactly what it costs, and the exact words you need to say to protect the people you love. We are counting down from 5 to 1, and I promise you, the number 1 trap is the one that haunts families long after everything else has passed. Stay with me for all 5, because missing even one of them could change everything. Let us start. Here is something most families never think to check when they choose a nursing home. They look at the building, they look at the rooms, they smell the hallways. They talk to the admissions coordinator, who is warm and professional and says all the right things. What they almost never look at is the staffing report. Every Medicare-certified nursing home in the United States is required to report its staffing levels to the federal government. That data is publicly available on the Medicare Care Compare website. And what that data shows, in facility after facility across this country, is that many nursing homes are operating with far fewer nurses and aides than the residents in their care actually require. Here is why that matters in a way that is deeply personal. When a nursing home is understaffed, residents wait. They wait to be turned in their beds, which means pressure sores develop. They wait to be helped to the bathroom, which means falls happen when they try to get up alone. They wait for medications. They wait for meals. They wait for someone to notice that something is wrong. And the residents most at risk are the ones who cannot speak up for themselves. Richard was 84 years old, a retired Navy veteran from Tampa, Florida. His family chose a facility that looked beautiful: new furniture, a cheerful dining room, a garden courtyard. His son visited twice a week and always found his father sitting in the common area, which seemed reassuring. What his son did not know was that Richard was being left in bed for 12 and 14 hours at a time on days when the facility was short-staffed. He was not being repositioned, he was not being walked, he was not receiving the physical therapy his care plan required. Within 6 weeks, Richard had developed a serious pressure wound on his lower back. It became infected. He was hospitalized. He never recovered his prior level of function and spent his final months in pain that his family believed was entirely preventable. His son said afterward, "The warning signs were there. I just did not know what they were." Here is what you need to do. Before you choose any nursing home, or even if your loved one is already in one, go to the Medicare Care Compare website and look up that facility's staffing rating. It is free, it is public, and it will tell you whether that facility is consistently meeting the staffing standards Medicare recommends. When you visit, say these words to the director of nursing. Say, "Can you show me your average daily nurse-to-resident and aide-to-resident ratios for the past 90 days, and how often you rely on agency or temporary staff?" A facility that is proud of its staffing will answer that question without hesitation. A facility that deflects or gets defensive is telling you something important. Most families never ask that question, and most families never know they could. But staffing is only the first trap. The next one is something families sign on the very first day, often without reading it, and it quietly takes away one of the most powerful rights they have. When a family is placing a loved one in a nursing home, the emotions are overwhelming. There is grief, there is guilt, there is the logistical pressure of getting everything arranged. And in the middle of all of that, an admissions coordinator places a thick stack of paperwork in front of the family and walks them through it form by form. Most families sign everything. Of course they do. They want their loved one to have a bed. They want the process to be over. They are not thinking about legal strategy. They are thinking about their mother or their father and trying to hold themselves together. But buried in that stack, sometimes clearly labeled, sometimes folded into a larger document, is a forced arbitration agreement. Here is what that means in plain language. If something goes wrong inside that nursing home, if your loved one is neglected, injured, or harmed, a forced arbitration agreement means your family gives up the right to take that facility to court. Instead, any dispute goes to a private arbitration process, chosen and often paid for by the nursing home industry. There is no jury, there is no public record, and statistically, arbitration outcomes favor facilities far more often than court outcomes favor families. You are signing away your legal rights at the most vulnerable moment of your family's life, and most people have no idea that is what they are doing. Barbara was 76 years old, a retired librarian from Phoenix, Arizona. Her family placed her in a local facility after a stroke left her needing around-the-clock care. During her stay, Barbara suffered a serious fall that the family believed resulted from inadequate supervision. She fractured her wrist and her collarbone. When the family consulted an attorney about pursuing a negligence claim, they discovered that they had signed a binding arbitration agreement on admission day. The attorney told them their options were severely limited. The arbitration process that followed took 14 months, cost the family thousands of dollars in fees, and resulted in an outcome the family described as deeply unjust. Barbara's daughter said, "I never even read that page. Nobody told me what it meant. I just signed it because I was trying to get my mother safe." Here is what you must know. In most cases, signing an arbitration agreement is not legally required to gain admission to a nursing home. Many facilities include it, but families have the right to refuse it. When you are presented with admission paperwork, say these words. Say, "I would like to identify and separately review any arbitration agreement before I sign the rest of this paperwork. We are not prepared to waive our legal rights as part of this admission." If the facility tells you that signing is required for admission, ask them to put that in writing and consult an elder law attorney before proceeding. Many families who push back on this are told quietly that it is not actually required after all. Do not let the urgency of the moment take away rights that could matter enormously later. Most families discover this trap only after something has already gone wrong. Please do not be one of them. But the next trap is one that most families never suspect, because it does not look like neglect. It does not look like an accident. It looks, from the outside, like a resident who is simply calm and cooperative. And that appearance hides something deeply troubling. This is one of the most widespread and least discussed problems in American nursing homes today. When a nursing home is understaffed, when residents are agitated, when a person with dementia is upset or wandering or asking to go home, the easiest solution for an overwhelmed staff is medication. Not one-on-one care, not behavioral support. Medication. Antipsychotic drugs, medications originally developed for conditions like schizophrenia, are given to nursing home residents with dementia at alarming rates, not to treat a psychiatric condition, but to sedate, to quiet, to make the resident easier to manage. This practice is sometimes called chemical restraint, and the consequences for residents can be severe. These medications increase the risk of stroke in elderly patients. They cause falls. They cause excessive sedation. They accelerate cognitive decline. And because the resident is often unable to communicate what is happening to them, and because the family sees someone who seems peaceful and settled, nobody raises an alarm. Margaret was 79 years old, a retired seamstress from Louisville, Kentucky. She had moderate dementia and had been placed in a memory care unit after her husband was no longer able to care for her safely at home. Her husband visited every day. In the first few weeks, Margaret was sometimes agitated. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she asked to go home. Within 2 months, her husband noticed she was different. She slept most of the day. She barely spoke. She did not recognize him some days. The staff told him she was adjusting. They told him her dementia was progressing. They said this was normal. It was her daughter, a pharmacist, who finally looked at Margaret's medication chart and discovered she had been placed on a high dose of an antipsychotic drug. The drug had never been discussed with the family. No informed consent had been obtained. No behavioral alternatives had been tried. When the daughter confronted the medical director, the medication was reduced. Within 3 weeks, Margaret was more alert, more verbal, and recognized her husband again. Her husband wept when he told this story. He said, "I thought I was losing her to the disease. I did not know I was losing her to a pill nobody told me about." Here is what you need to do. At least once a month, ask the nursing home this question directly. Ask, "Can I see a current list of every medication my loved one is receiving, including any that were added or changed in the past 30 days? And I want a written explanation of why each one was prescribed." You have the legal right to that information. And if you see an antipsychotic medication on that list, ask specifically why it was prescribed, whether behavioral alternatives were attempted first, and whether your consent was obtained. If the answer is unclear or evasive, contact your state's long-term care ombudsman immediately. It is free, it is confidential, and it exists specifically to protect residents like Margaret. What happened to Margaret was preventable, and it is happening right now to residents whose families do not know to look for it. But losing a loved one's clarity to unnecessary medication is devastating in ways that words can barely capture. What comes next can take away something else entirely, the financial security your family spent a lifetime building. And this trap moves fast and quietly. When a resident's Medicare coverage ends, and it always ends, typically after 100 days at most and often far sooner, the cost of nursing home care falls to the resident personally. The average cost of a private nursing home room in America is now over $9,000 a month. A single year can exceed $100,000. Medicaid, the program that covers long-term nursing home care for those who qualify, has a 5-year look-back period. This means that gifts, property transfers, or certain financial moves made within 5 years before applying for Medicaid can be counted against eligibility, triggering a penalty period during which Medicaid pays nothing, even if the family has no money left. Thomas was 83 years old, a retired farmer from rural Iowa. 3 years before he needed nursing home care, his wife transferred the family property to their adult son, trying to protect it. No elder law attorney was consulted. When Thomas entered the nursing home and the family applied for Medicaid, that transfer triggered a 17-month penalty period. The family had no savings left and was forced to take out loans to cover a gap that proper planning could have prevented entirely. His son said, "My mother was trying to do the right thing. Nobody told her there were rules she did not know existed." Before any nursing home admission becomes urgent, consult a certified elder law attorney who specializes specifically in Medicaid planning. And when speaking with any facility about finances, say these words. Say, "Before we sign any financial agreement, I need written clarification of what Medicare covers, what will be billed personally, and what the process is for applying for Medicaid when personal funds are exhausted." Also know this. Federal law prohibits nursing homes from requiring a family member to personally guarantee a resident's bills as a condition of admission. If any form asks you to sign as a personal guarantor, not as the resident's representative, but personally, do not sign it without legal review. The financial trap in nursing home care moves quietly, and it is almost always preventable with the right guidance at the right time. Have you or your family ever faced unexpected costs related to nursing home care? Tell us in the comments. Your experience could help another family avoid the same mistake. Now we have reached the trap that causes the deepest and most lasting pain. Because the families who experience it spend years asking themselves one question: why didn't I see it coming? Transfers and repositioning are among the most physically dangerous activities in nursing home care. Moving a resident from a bed to a wheelchair, from a wheelchair to a toilet, from a chair to standing, these movements require trained staff, proper numbers, and the right equipment. When any of those elements are missing, the results can be catastrophic. Falls in nursing homes kill tens of thousands of Americans every year. They cause fractures, head injuries, internal bleeding, and complications that lead directly to death. And what happened to Ruth started with a single decision that took less than 30 seconds. Ruth was 80 years old, a retired piano teacher from Nashville, Tennessee. She was in a nursing home recovering from a stroke that had left her with significant weakness on her left side. Her care plan clearly stated that she required two-person assistance for all transfers. One evening, a single aide, working alone on a unit that should have had 3 staff members, attempted to transfer Ruth from her wheelchair to her bed without waiting for assistance. Ruth fell. She struck her head on the floor. She sustained a traumatic brain injury. She never regained full consciousness. Her family sat with her for 11 days before she passed. Her daughter said she was supposed to be getting better. She was supposed to come home, and she died from a fall that her own care plan said should never have happened with one person. Here is what every family must do. Obtain a copy of your loved one's written care plan. Every nursing home resident has one. It specifies exactly how many staff are required for transfers, what fall prevention measures are in place, and how often the resident must be checked. Ask for it. Read every line. Then say these words to the director of nursing. Say, I want written confirmation that my loved one's care plan is being followed for every transfer and repositioning, and I want to know the process for notifying family immediately if any fall or injury occurs, no matter how minor it appears. Visit at different times. Visit on weekends. Visit in the evenings. The care your loved one receives on a Tuesday morning is not always the care they receive on a Saturday night. And if your loved one can communicate, ask them privately, with no staff present. Are they helping you when you need to get up? Are you waiting a long time? Has anyone ever been rough with you? Has anyone ever made you feel afraid? Those questions, asked in private, have revealed situations that no amount of scheduled inspection would have uncovered. Ruth's family had visited regularly. They had spoken to the staff. They had believed the assurances. And they lost her anyway. Not to her stroke, not to her age, but to a preventable fall on a night when the people responsible for her safety were stretched too thin to keep her safe. You cannot undo what happened to Ruth, but you can prevent it from happening to the person you love. And that is exactly why this conversation matters. Before we close, here is your nursing home protection plan, the exact words that can protect your loved one starting today. For staffing, ask, can you show me your average daily staffing ratios for the past 90 days and how often you use agency staff? For arbitration agreements, say, I want to separately review any arbitration agreement. We are not prepared to waive our legal rights as part of this admission. For medication concerns, say, I want a current list of every medication my loved one is receiving, including anything added or changed in the past 30 days, with a written explanation for each one. For financial responsibility, say, before we sign any financial agreement, I need written clarification of what Medicare covers, what will be billed personally, and what the Medicaid application process looks like. For transfer and fall safety, say, I want written confirmation that my loved one's care plan is being followed for every transfer, and I want immediate family notification of any fall or injury, no matter how minor it appears. Write these down, put them in your phone, share them with every family member involved in your loved one's care, because the moment you need them, the emotion and the pressure of that moment will make it hard to think clearly. Prepare now. Protect them now. The families in today's stories did not fail their loved ones. They simply did not know what they did not know. You now know, and that changes everything. If videos like this help your family stay informed, stay protected, and stay one step ahead of a system most people only learn about the hard way, please subscribe and join us. We are here every week because these conversations matter. Because in our next video, we are going back inside the hospital and exposing the paperwork mistake that has quietly cost seniors thousands of dollars in bills they never saw coming for care they thought was already covered. You will not want to miss it.